Hey everybody, welcome to the last video. This is be part 7. So some last things I wanted to share. So just scroll over here a little bit, zoom out. Okay, so in the writings on Irenaeus, it mentioned Polycarp knew John. However, in reading the writing of Polycarp, he makes no mention of John. Also, John could not have been around after September 22nd, AD 73, in the Hebraic calendar, Tishri 5 or 34. For this was the last day of the house of Israel, which fulfilled Matthew chapter 23, verses 36 and 38. And John was a part of the house of Israel. Polycarp would have been 4 years old in AD 73 if he was born in AD 69. Also in the writing of Irenaeus, it mentioned John was seen until Trajan, AD 98, which clearly fabricated. So if you click on this timeline here, link here, this is the timeline that I put together. And so it shows here the last day of the house of Israel. So I use what's called endpoint to endpoint data collection. So you have 10 different prophecies and 10 different lines representing the length of each prophecy, length of time. For example, Daniel 12:12 mentioned that 1,335 days. I would have a line that's 1,335 units long, and all I needed was data in history, endpoint of one line, and that's how I was able to piece this all together and finally get the last day of the house of Israel. So John could not have been around after that day. That was the day 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verse 16 was fulfilled, the Yom Teruah, the last Yom Teruah, the Jewish feast, which went from the Jewish calendar Tishri 1 to Tishri 10. And if we call times and half a time, which is actually associated with the Yom Teruah, which Daniel 12:7. Okay, so that half a time was day 5 out of 10 of the Tishri. That was their last day. It also matches with the date I figured out that they fled, which is April 10th of AD 70, which is the fulfillment of Matthew 24, where Jesus told him, "Pray your flight did not take place in the Sabbath in the winter. Your prayer was answered." It took place that Thursday afternoon of April 10th. So then the next day of the start of the 1260 day prophecy of Revelation 12:6. I actually figured that out first, and so I would get the date September 22nd, AD 73, and then the half time I figured out that afterward, and the dates matches September 22nd, AD 73. So this whole thing about John seeing up until Trajan is false. The reason why they did that is to make it look like the writing of Irenaeus had more credibility. It's the whole idea of apostolic succession. So trying to make it John live longer, then he would have known Polycarp, and then Polycarp knew Irenaeus. It made it look like there was apostolic succession. But that was totally not possible. Again, he was only 4 years old at the time. Polycarp was only 4 years old at the time, the last year that John would have been around. So that would have been year 90. He'd been 98 years old. The average lifespan of 35 years. Let's just make it 40. Due to math, that's almost 2.5 times. So the average lifespan today is about 75. So it'd be equivalent to somebody being about 180 years old. So it's so unlikely. So anyway, so that was the one thing I really want to point out. So that very important piece of information, because if this was not fulfilled, that would make Jesus a false prophet. It's Matthew 23 here. So this is contrary what the claim made in Irenaeus. Okay, so John could not have been alive after that. He'd been taken up, fulfilling 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. And the last thing, the other thing I want to point out, let's see here. Scroll down to here. So if you click on this link here, fabricated list of popes, it'll bring you to the PDF here. And move myself out of the way there. Okay, so here's the list of popes. And as you can see here, St. Syracuse is the first one that had the title Pope, and there's a very good article here, origination of papacy. And so it goes over here. That's a really good article. I highly recommend. So this is great resourceful information for you as well. So I'll let you play with that. And so then it begs the question, what really happened to Peter? Okay. So if you go to, or where did he actually die? So if you go to Acts 25, if you look at the example of Paul's on trial, but he asked to appeal to Caesar. So that's what brought him over to Rome. Jesus, on the other hand, did not make that appeal. He died right in Jerusalem. So the question of which path would Peter have taken? Would he made the appeal or gone to Rome, or would it have been the same as Jesus? It's so unlikely that he would have gone to Rome, because first of all, he didn't even speak the languages of Rome, Acts 4:13. It would have been no advantage to him. It would not have, it would have meant nothing. So what does that mean? Everything that claimed about him being Rome was 100% fabricated, and it was all because of, partly due to having to rewrite history, due to having to create a position of Pope, as I pointed out in part 6. I'm starting to lose my train of thought here. Okay, moving on. So what would have happened to Peter? Okay, so he was in Babylon, which has been fortress of Babylon in Egypt, and here Jerusalem. Now he's part of the stick of Judah, so he would have been very emotionally involved with the fulfillment of John 21. Were feeding the house of Israel, that is both physical and spiritual. So he would have gone back and forth his boat, catching fish along the way, and feeding them and going back and forth, okay? And if you go to that timeline, let's see here. It's February 2000, February of 67, not 2067, but 67. When Nero declared war on Jerusalem. Okay, that's just right here. So it would have been after that where Peter would have died. Okay, would have been in Jerusalem after that order. And Titus in 70, when he arrived and fully surrounded Jerusalem with his army, he was not allowing anybody to go in and out to feed them. He was trying to take advantage of famine at the time, which would have prevented Peter from being able to do anything. So Peter's purpose would have been gone by that point. So, in all likelihood, if he died in the year 67, then the other disciples would have continued on with feeding them, while the stick of Joseph would have already arrived in Petra. Okay, and if you recall that story, the feeding 5,000, that I believe that was really a foreshadow of what's going on here. The miracle would have continued going on unless they had a massive. They could not have too many fishermen going on board and trying to transfer the fish. So I believe that was really a foreshadow of what's going on. It was a stick of Judah, the destruction of the temple and the famine. So anyway, so Peter would have been taken captive here, girded just like said in John 21. Gone someplace against his will. So I believe he would have been taken to the cross, probably same thing that happened to Jesus. And what happened after that, we don't know. There's no record. So if there was a record, it would have been burned up, just like they point out. Oops, go back to this timeline here. Okay, so the book burning that took place during this period of time. So it would most likely been burned up, which will allow them to rewrite history and get away with it. So, what do I want to say here? Bear with me here. So, yeah. And the other thing I wanted to point out, the only way there would have been apostolic succession is from Paul to Timothy, and from Timothy to whomever. If there was anything like that written, it would have been burned up as well. So we don't really have anything. And I believe God's sovereignty, he deliberately allowed that for a reason. Go right back to this here. Ephesians 2:20, right here. having been built on the foundation of apostle, prophet, and Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone. We're not to rely on fallible sources, such as church fathers. So when you do that, you create presupposition and you just naturally do what's called eisegesis, and that's largely what the Roman Catholic Church, no offense, is built upon, is eisegesis, and they just don't know it because they're building their theology off fallible sources such as church fathers, this whole idea of magisterium, pope, and Paul didn't say one word of that. He doesn't say that anywhere in here. So anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. So those are my thoughts of what actually happened to Peter. He would have died around here, sometime between February 67 to before Passover, before the of 70, before the Roman army under Titus surrounded Jerusalem, and nobody was allowed to go in and out of the temple because he's trying to take advantage of famine and so forth. Okay, trying to basically cause them to rot as fast as possible. So anyway, yeah, that's about it. So we have no record, as far as I know, of Peter, what really happened. And again, if we did, it probably would have been burned up, which again would allow them to rewrite history and do what they did. So alrighty, that's pretty much all I have. So anyway, thank you very much. And I think that pretty much wraps up this these videos on this particular topic. Thank you and have a great day.